Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel where we learn to be a better programmer. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how becoming a software engineer truly changed my life. Before we get started, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. So when I graduated my undergrad degree at University of Maryland, I had a job lined up working at Sikorsky Aircraft Corporation, which they manufacture Black Hawk helicopters and other commercial helicopters as well. And I was making $68,000 a year. Sounds like a lot of money to be making out of college, and it was. But there's some caveats here, right? So I was making $68,000, but I had $75,000 in student loan debt, right? So across all my student loans, the payments came out to be about $1,100, $1,200 a month, and my take home from Sikorsky after taxes and 401k was like $3,600 a month, right? So 3,600 minus 11 gives me about $2,500 left over to live and save. So I also had an apartment, and my apartment choice was kind of interesting because I decided to get a 2-bedroom even though I was living by myself, because I wanted to have the opportunity to potentially get a roommate, and that would cut down the monthly payment to be less than what I would be paying for a 1-bedroom. So there were a few months there after graduation when I started working where I was living in a 2-bedroom by myself, but ultimately I ended up getting a roommate, and then was able to cut that monthly payment down to about I think it was like $750 a month. I think the 2-bedroom was $1,400, and then I was paying $750 of that. And so there was phone bill, there was cable, or there was internet, and then a few other things. So, $1,100 plus say another $1,000 in terms of rent and living expenses. So let's say like rent and living expenses. So that comes out to be like 2,200 minus, so 3,600 minus 2,200 is like $1,200, I think. No, $1,400, yeah. So then I had to live, and then I also had to, eat. So I bought, groceries, ate out some, and then I maybe wanted to travel. So it really gives you like about $1,000 to save, travel, and eat. So, and then you can also decide to put more of that money to your student loans if you wanted to. So it was like this you kind of felt a little handcuffed, right? Like you still had $1,000 to do things, and make your life, how you live your life how you wanted to, but it was very limiting. And then also, so I didn't have a car payment, but I did have car insurance, but I was driving a really, really old kind of beat up car. And whenever that car would give me issues, it was like $300 here. So, $300 here, $400 there. Like I remember one payment was like on an issue was like $800. So it really, really makes things tight on you, right? So when I got up to my job and where I was living, I ended up having I had like 52 cents in my bank account. My dad drove me up to Connecticut, is basically where Sikorsky is. So my dad drove me up to Connecticut. He gave me a couple of some cash to like get started or whatever, but I had basically 52 cents in my bank account, and there was like a period of time where I hadn't started getting paid yet, so it was like I need like a little bit of a stopgap. So interestingly enough, I had to basically turn to getting a credit card, right? And this is kind of how people build up that sort of credit card debt, because they don't have cash to cover their necessities. So they turn to a credit card and basically borrow and then have to pay it back. So essentially it started me off from day one having a credit card payment, not necessarily debt. I wasn't like building up any like crazy debt. It was just more like every month here's like 500 or here's 600 or whatever, because I would clear out my balance at the end of every month. So what I ended up doing was like I would have my credit card, but then I would also be spending my cash. So I was double dipping, and ultimately it was like you just get this sense of you don't have enough money, and then you end up having to borrow more from your credit cards and stuff like that. So it just starts to snowball, right? So ultimately, I was able to increase my salary a little bit at Sikorsky and then get promoted, but the promotion was pretty marginal, and not too extensive. So, but during that time, I was getting my master's in computer science, and I was interviewing heavily, and then ultimately I ended up getting a job at Intel. And Intel basically increased my salary by like 50%, I think was the number. So that put me in the six figures range. With, they gave me some stock, and then they gave me they gave annual bonuses, and they gave quarterly bonuses, and they gave me a signing bonus and a relocation package and all this stuff. So I basically went from Sikorsky Aircraft, which was just, here's your base salary and that's all you get, to, all these additional perks from in software. So I was able to really pay down my student loans, and in a few years I was able to basically not have any student loan debt. I didn't have any credit card debt. I had, plenty of money left over at the end of the month to save. I was contributing to my 401k. So truthfully, getting that job at Intel really not only changed my life from Sikorsky, but also just completely opened up a ton of different options from an investment point of view, from a traveling point of view, from a quality of life point of view. And what I want to try to get across here is that, becoming a software engineer really legitimately changed my life. Like if I had been at Sikorsky, I think it probably would have taken me maybe another 5 to 10, maybe even 15 years to get to six figures. And then in 2.5 years of studying for my master's and doing a career switch, it's really sped up that process. It really just changed my life there. And so I was able to get married and start a family and buy a house and do all that stuff. One thing to note here is yes, I started making more money, but my lifestyle didn't change. I didn't go out buy a whole bunch of clothes. I don't have a ton of Jordans, or my expenses are just so low, right? So I just have no debt now. So I have no monthly payment. And I have a higher salary, so that means I'm able to save the entire difference in my salary, which is really nice. So, I think something to note is if you're considering going into software and becoming a software engineer for financial reasons, that's fantastic, right? It will definitely pay its dividends if you work hard and you trust the process. But something that to keep in mind is something that I've struggled with personally is I was hustling and, working hard and grinding for so long, right? I was grinding for, 3 years at Sikorsky while I was getting my master's, and even well before that during my undergrad. And then you get to this point where you've gotten this job at your software company, you've gotten this job at, your dream company, and you're making a lot of money, and you have your debt covered, you have no more debt, you have basically everything you wanted. And so you have all this, you have this sort of itch to always keep moving forward, keep doing things, keep learning new things, to kind of try to get to that, whatever that next level is for you. And it's weird because you start to get this sense of complacency because you have everything that you could possibly want or need. And so where does the drive come from? Where does the drive continue to where do you put that energy? And truthfully, the answer for me came into putting it into my career. So, once I got these jobs at these software companies, it was oh, wow, okay, so I have this money, but now what, right? I've only gone to school. I've been working nonstop around the clock, going to school for, working 8 hours, coding at night for 6 hours a night, and just rinsing and repeating for the last 2.5, 3 years. But now I have all this free time. What do I do with it? And the truth is you pour that energy back into work, and you just keep increasing your growth trajectory within your career. So that's kind of my story. And it definitely, if you're considering trying to make the career switch into software engineering, I can definitely say it does pay off if you want to work hard and put your heart and soul into it. It'll definitely pay off for you. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, feel free to leave them below. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope this kind of gave you a little insight into how software engineering can change your life. All right, thanks.